Okay, are we ready?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you so much, Sailesh Bhai, for getting everyone together on this Wednesday evening. Even with the snow showers, we didn't have to drive anywhere. And we are in comfort of our own homes, and hope everyone is healthy and safe. So just to introduce myself, I'm just going to request, if you can mute the microphones on your phone or your laptop or anything that you're on, and then later once after the talk is over, we will open the forum for anyone to ask questions or anything. So I'm just going to request everyone to just have the microphone on their devices on mute. So yes, I am Kalindi, and by training, I'm a neuroscientist, and veganism was more of a lifestyle choice for me. The primary advantage, of course, for most of us is health benefit. But once I got into it, I saw several health benefits, up to the point that I decided to quit my career in lab research in academia and actually take on to that and bring it to a different level. So I started, myself experimenting in the kitchen. For the past 10 years. I have, experimented 10 years ago. And since then, I started my own company, Satvika, in the year 2013. And still at that point, I was not fully into that. But beginning 2015, I, thought that it was time for me to take this to a different level. So then I quit my full-time job in academia and started, started this as a full business. Even at that point, actually, I was a vegetarian. I was not vegan. And going along this journey, trying to, we used to, in our kitchen, we used to produce meals that were completely plant-based. Having access to all this food, I still wasn't completely going into veganism. However, it took me a little while, but now I'm very proud to say I'm fully vegan, and not just health benefits. Now we know that veganism is a very sustainable way of life. Not only for ourselves, it's also for the planet, for the goodness of others, for animal humanity, environmental causes. There are so many causes associated with it. Anyways, so today, from experiences, I speak from my experiences today. Whatever I'm going to be presenting, I speak from my experience of trying all these recipes at a commercial level in a kitchen, and also in my own home. So just talking a little bit about what I do. So I started the company called Satvika, and in Satvika, the focus was completely plant-based, clean food. So food without any any processed ingredients or anything. It was purely based on goodness of plants, meaning the food that I am used to create, whether being in the kitchen or being in my own kitchen, is made with purely plant-based ingredients, meaning grains, beans, legumes, nuts, seeds, vegetables, fruits. Those are the base of any recipes or any dishes that I create. And that's going back to what Dr. Shah said last week about veganism and about the health benefits of veganism. That was primarily my reason to start this venture of my own, and also adopt that lifestyle, right? So following up on his talk last week, today, last week, he gave you very solid whys, presenting patient data, showing what changes, tremendous and enormous changes you see in triglyceride and cholesterol levels, and HDL, LDL, and A1C levels, showing pure patient data, and most of the patients, as he said, they transitioned from vegetarianism to veganism. Even at that point, you see such huge differences. So today, I will be taking this to a different level and answering some whys, not whys, hows. I know, be transitioning to a vegan life, I'm going to admit it is not simple. So the first and the foremost thing I would say is be your own advocate, do your own research. Um, Talk to your physician, look at your blood reports, and I would safely say mostly traditional physicians. There are very few who would advise, but traditional physicians will not advise you for, adopting a vegan lifestyle. However, it is up to you. You have to be your own advocate. You do your own research. You do your own due diligence. Um, Not just Google, not just using Google as the expert medium. Look at scientific papers that are published on NIH websites. Look at data that has some validity, that offers you more scientific standpoint, and then you decide. And it can be a transition because it is very tough. It's overnight changes are, I would say, they are very tough, but it can be a slow transition, but it is doable. And it honestly, in the end, the proof is itself in the lives, in the changes that you make. And it shows in your reports, it shows in every way, it shows in your lifestyle, and your physical, mental health, and every way it is very beneficial. So let's start with, you're going to try now, based on what you heard last week with patient data, or also you're considering, because of many, many reasons, you're considering, okay, let me go plant-based. I think now is the best time. You know why? Because there are so many resources. Even I'd say 5 years ago when I started Satvika, at that time, plant-based was more used as clean eating. The term more clean eating, not plant-based or not vegan. However, now, today, plant-based is all over the place. It's everywhere. It's a $1 billion, more than $1 billion industry. And most of the research is now in food industries focused on plant-based products. So now is actually the best time to go vegan. So few questions that one may have starting, like, is it viable, or are all, what are vegan essential? What are the products you're going to use? What are you going to replace? Then is it expensive? Being vegan expensive? Is vegan being time consuming? Making meals, thinking about what are you going to cook, then going outside to eat. Are you always going to hit some hurdles, etc., etc.? That then other thing people always think is, am I going to be missing major nutrients in my diet? And mostly, from vegetarian to veganism, yes, it's not a huge change, but if you are predominantly eating meat or animal products, your question would be, am I going to miss protein in my diet? I think that's the biggest question people have. That, and then, will I be full eating just vegetables, beans, lentils, grains? Will I experience weakness? Will I be full? Also, people use, vegetarians also tend to eat a lot of, consume a lot of dairy products. So will I be missing my milk in my tea? Will I be missing my yogurt? Will I be missing my buttermilk? Will I be missing ghee, etc., etc.? Today, there are replacements for everything, each and everything. And as I said, the plant-based industry has grown so rapidly and tremendously that these things can all be taken care of one by one. It is you who has to take this step and make the transition. Okay, so let's walk through this these points one after another. First of all, finding ingredients. As I said, that is the easiest thing today. A few years ago, I can even remember 5 years ago, Whole Foods was the only place, I would say, and there were very few specialty stores where these vegan replacements or specialty vegan ingredients are available. But today, Amazon, Walmart, ShopRite, you name it, even my local farmers market, they all carry, all these ingredients, like, for example, flax meal, or think about any of the milks, almond milk, soy milk, oat milk, everything at all these products are like, pretty much available in all these, even the smallest store will have, almond milk or soy milk. So that's not, you don't have to travel distances, or you don't have to go out of your way to get all these products. The other thing is, people often say that, are these, all these exotic vegan ingredients expensive? Is this going to put a dent in my wallet? My straightforward answer to this is, dried beans, grains, lentils, vegetables, fruits. These products are actually fraction of cost of what meat or, any animal products that you buy. Yes, some of the products, for example, if you're going to go with, non-dairy milks, they obviously cost more than the mass-produced dairy, mass-produced milk. Those things do cost, but first you think about think about what benefits of going, leaving dairy and going a step forward and, embracing all these non-dairy products, or any, cutting down eggs from your lifestyle, taking out yogurt from your lifestyle. Look at how much tremendous health benefits this has. Think about, that in terms of your own health. I consider time and money both, being equal. You really have to think that when you leave all these things, the benefits, the health benefits to your own self they give you are just so tremendous and irreplaceable that at that point, I don't know if I were to think about price, right? That's the benefits to yourself are priceless. So think about the little more money or extra mile that you're going to go spending on a non-dairy milk versus traditional milk, or non-dairy yogurt versus traditional yogurt. Again, besides, there are so many products you can make them yourself, but but now they're readily available in the market. So I think in today's day and age, time, money, availability of ingredients, those things can be managed very well. Now, the most important thing here, how to, it requires a little bit of more than, it requires a little time, and it requires a little patience. Nowadays, again, so many YouTube videos, so much information out there on even like, how to throw a vegan Thanksgiving, how to throw a vegan party, or how to eat a single vegan meal. It is so easy. Starting with your breakfast, starting like, going to your lunches, dinners, all the information is available out there. It requires your effort, as I said. It requires your dedication, your motivation. And here, the first and the foremost motivation should be, or is usually, health. And then after, once you understand the health benefits and get into it, you really evolve as a person, and you realize there are so many other things that are associated with vegan life. One of the most important thing I learned while my daughter was doing her science project on why you should eat one less beef burger is because beef has the most carbon footprint, right? And if you cut down an amazing finding from her work was, if you cut down just one burger a week, that saves so much, in terms of carbon footprint. So even like, so if think about dairy also has a very big carbon footprint. So anyways, just not your own self, you're also helping the environment, also helping, also, in cruelty to animals, etc., etc. So, okay, having said that, let's start with what we are actually going to do today, is going to see delicious vegan meals being prepared. So now, just to put a bit color on how to, there are a few things that I always keep in mind when I'm in my kitchen making a meal, whether it's in the Plantology kitchen, where I sort of like, design meals which are eventually prepared at larger scale and then packaged, there are 4 things I absolutely keep in mind. Number 1, or I like to call them 4 pillars of plantology. Number 1 is the nutrition. And as I keep saying, repeating again and again, as Dr. Shrenik Shah said last time in his talk, that one of the key reasons, even him and other people, his patients, his patients also responded very well to this vegan diet. So nutrition, if you're coming into this diet, you're walking over the bridge and making a transition, nutrition should be the key whenever you're planning, whenever you're designing or thinking of making any meal. The second one, with nutrition comes flavor. So when you think about making a vegan meal or plant-based meal, never think that it is going to be blend. Flavor is something you can put into it. You can make it your own. You can use spices, herbs, so many different things to flavor it. Number 3 is the nutrition, flavor, color is number 3. Now, color. Since plant-based meals are, if you're going plant-based or vegan, you want to make sure that you explore the best of the plant-based diet. Exploring the best of the plant-based diet, meaning bringing in, using as many ingredients, bringing in all the produce that you can use, which is seasonal. That means all the different ingredients add to the color of a meal. And at any day, the color of a meal, the flavor of a meal, if you add more colors to the meal, adds more nutrition to the meal. More the flavor you use using natural herbs, spices, you are more likely to create more meal, and you're more likely to get more ideas. And finally, the last one, the 4th pillar, is the texture. We love food in food has so many different dimensions. When we put a bite in our mouth, we have over 10,000 receptors or sensors on our tongue, right? And all those sensations come together. When you look at a plate, you see the color, the presentation. Next thing you smell, it comes the flavors. And then when you put in your mouth, the textures play so many different roles. And they send signals from your mouth to your brain, and then you associate the whole experience of eating. Okay, and this is true for any dish you're making, and I feel that vegan food should not lack any nutrition, of course, not flavor, not color, and the last of all, textures. Because, generally speaking, if we know some of the food, sometimes we try, it tastes like baby food. It actually doesn't taste like baby food, it's the mushy texture. So we know, we associate the texture with a dish. So if we keep in mind those 4 things, you're definitely going to always, those things will help you create a very delightful meal. Okay. So here's what, let's go over all those things one after another and how they will play into the dishes that we will be making today, right? So starting with nutrition, I'm going to share my screen with you guys. So starting with nutrition, whenever I create a dish, what I think of is most important nutrients or building blocks. It takes me back to my cell biology lecture in college when I used to talk about the important building blocks of the body. So the most important are our macronutrients in our meal, or those nutrients are carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. So if you keep those 3 in balance, and believe me, everything else, like the vitamins, antioxidants, anti-inflammatories, all those things play very well. So whenever you build a meal, always remember then the carbohydrates are, generally speaking, are majority, main part, or macro, they're called macros. So your macro or your daily meal has highest % of carbohydrates, and proteins and fats are usually they usually come into play depending. There is higher % of protein and lower % of fat. So about, I would say about 40 to 60% of your nutrition comes from carbohydrates. And it depends if you have a certain condition or if you are working towards, weight loss or anything that ratio can go down, but it varies between 40 to 65%. Usually your proteins 10 to 35%. As I give you, it's a huge range, but it depends on an individual or what they're working towards. But that's like, between, I would say 20% should be your maintenance or your usual protein content. And fat, it varies between 20 and 35%. So these three elements, carbohydrates, fats, and proteins and fats. Now, whenever you are planning a meal, think about that, like carbohydrate, a bigger portion, and protein and fat. And you can always play between protein and fat, okay? So just to show you, just sharing the screen with you to show you like how a vegan plate, should look like. So highest number of servings come from vegetables, right? Then grains and legumes, they are sort of divided, okay? Because these are our complex carbohydrates. Vegetables also contribute to carbohydrates, but legumes and grains will be our source of complex carbohydrates and our source of proteins. And vegetables also contribute to the protein part. And the nuts and seeds, as you can see in the plate, they are the ratio or the percentage of nuts and seeds is supposed to be smaller, not higher. So that's something that you have to keep in mind. A vegan diet, a lot of things are made with nuts and seeds and oils, but you got to realize that nuts are also a very high calorie or calorie dense food. So you have to keep a balance, and always remember in the plate, the nuts and seeds have a very small portion because it's very easy to overindulge. Okay. So remember that, a vegan plate is a very balanced plate, and it has all the ingredients, all the micronutrients and the macros that you require for your daily calories, or even you're an athlete. This plate will make sure that, you are taken, your body gets adequate nutrition. Okay. And there is always question. One of the questions I always get asked is about proteins. Being a vegan, being vegetarian first, there was still a question, but then, there was always, oh, you still have dairy. So dairy will make up your protein, but now you're vegan. Where is your protein? So here we go. As a vegan or in a plant-based diet, there's tremendous protein. There's tremendous opportunities for you to fill the protein bracket. In tofu, soy tofu, soy protein, lentils, chickpeas, black beans, all the dals, all of them have protein. All the vegetables you eat, protein is a building block of plants too. So you have to realize all the plants you're eating, all the vegetables you're eating, be it peas, cauliflower, broccoli, all the vegetables have protein, right? Then our fats, even the nuts that you eat has protein, seeds that you eat has protein. So, and other question is about whether a plant protein or a a plant-based protein is a complete protein. Believe it or not, two of the complete proteins, quinoa, among them is quinoa and soy. So complete protein meaning, does it have all the essential amino acids that are required by your body? Animal products or animal products, they are considered gold standard for protein quality. However, being a vegan, please don't think your diet does not have even enough amino acids or proteins. Being vegan, what is most important is you get your protein or your nutrition from a variety of sources. So just don't stick to one thing. Just if you're used to eating yellow dal, think about expanding beyond a yellow dal. If you keep eating yellow dal, yes, you're going to get lysine. You're probably not going to get methionine, which is in some other legume. Just giving you an example, so if you increase your repertoire of lentils, dals, or grains, your body will get the required amino acids and make them into complete proteins. But you have to make sure that you increase your repertoire of lentils, grains, everything, vegetables. vegetables, try to stick to more seasonal vegetables, because more seasonal vegetables, obviously they are more, in season, and they have a higher amount of nutrition, right? And plus they don't have to travel far from somewhere to come, and by the time you get, they're already pretty much half dead. So, eat more vegetables, meaning fall, now it's fall and winter time, try to explore squashes, which if you're not used to. Get a butternut squash, use pumpkin, use, anything that this season has to give you. The root vegetables, sweet potatoes. If you're used to just using potatoes, try sweet potatoes. Yes, it's sweet, but you can incorporate it into so many dishes, right? And so this way, if you try to get your nutrition from so many sources, your vegan proteins, your plant-based proteins will be complete. Kid you not, they will be complete, and you will have complete proteins on your plate. So don't ever think that, plant-based diet or eating predominantly, plant products, you're going to miss out any protein. Okay. A big benefit of eating your plant-based protein compared to animal proteins is your plant-based protein come with zero fat, zero cholesterol. Most of them. Nuts have fat, yes. Oils have fat, but grains, dried grains, vegetables, fruits, come on, no, they don't have any cholesterol in them. They are very, so your protein compared to animal protein, you have such a higher chance of eating the healthiest and the best quality of protein, right? And here, that brings us to the other part. We have covered a little bit of protein. So what kind of fats, healthy fats that you're going to get from your vegan diet? So many fats available, so that you don't have to think that you're going to miss your dairy. You have all these oils, olive oil, canola, considering one of, I really prefer cooking with canola oil. It's considered one of the healthiest. You can use regular olive oil, not extra virgin olive oil, for cooking. You can use, sunflower seed oil, grapeseed oil, any neutral oils. Then you have your nuts, all your, a whole range of nuts, seeds. Then you have your chia, you have your flax. All these, combined to will give you your good fatty acids, omega-3, omega-6 fatty acids, which traditionally it's thought only it's high in animal products, especially fish or salmon. But you have lots of those healthy fatty acids in all the vegan, all plant-based and vegan products. Just as I said before, you just have to be careful with it. Please don't go overboard with nuts and seeds, because they're they're high calorie dense. And yes, it adds up to the fact that you're consuming. And always be very mindful when you're cooking. And I will show you some tricks when you use two things. I always, in my kitchen, in the salt container and in the oil container, I only use teaspoons, which are measuring spoons. I do not use regular spoon. I do not pour oil into anything. I use measuring spoons. These are my go-to spoons when it comes to oils and salt, two things. So that way you can keep control of what you are using, how much oil you're using, because oil, and there is something, oil and salt, they add up very fast. In a salt container, I would always recommend always leave. This is my little salt container. I never use salt out of the container. In this one, I always use a half a teaspoon. So I know exactly how much salt I'm adding. And I know I'm not going overboard, because this much is enough. I'm done. So, rather than doing approximation, I think this is something, it's very helpful. It's a very small trick, but it's very helpful. Just teaspoons. And, I use teaspoons, cup measures in all of my grains and any of the containers that I have, I always use all these little things. So I know exactly the measurements. And, you get a lot of them and stick it into all these containers. It really helps with measurement. It helps you understand the calories that you consume. It gives you, actually, it puts a number. Let me say that. Approximation, no, you always one fistful, a little bit here, a little bit there. You don't have an idea of the number. This actually puts a number to what you're eating. It gives you an accountability. So it's a very simple thing, like, because I'm used to cooking and, sort of creating recipes and sort of being in the kitchen, supervising what everything is doing. Everyone is, what are they using it in our kitchen? Because everything is measured, everything there are always measuring cups and measuring spoons. You do not use anything besides that. And that is the number one rule in my own kitchen too. A teaspoon in the oil container. Never this way with oil, because it's very easy to go free on oil and salt. So two things, remember, if you don't have, please invest in some teaspoon, tablespoon, and that will pay you back in your own health. Okay, having said that, I'm going to go over some of the basic things, or I like to call them very my blank slate recipes. Few things that I do on regular basis at home. You may find it helpful, and these are like when we talk about is making plant-based food or vegan food time consuming, I can show you within, really, this is not time consuming at all. You just, you need some ingredients, but those ingredients, they last you a while. So it's not that you're using a fistful of those ingredients, you're using a little bit at a time. And those little things add up and they will make a really filling meal. So let's start, without further ado, let's start with my number one thing, the first thing, breakfast. So highly recommend, and everyone knows now that oats are very healthy choice because they are very high in soluble fiber. And they have, since they're high in soluble fiber, they have a very good filling, like, they give you a very good filling effect. And when you eat them, that you feel full for a while. And so it helps you cut down on eating other things or trying to fill yourself up between meals. And then oats, generally, these days, there are so many different variety in the supermarket and it gets very confusing. So I am taking the three most popular ones. Steel cut oats. These are much more harder, like, tougher, but they are very hardy. When you eat, they really fill you up very fast. And they take the longest to cook, about 20-30 minutes to cook. However, they are the most filling, and they have the lowest, for those interested in, like, those working on the glycemic index, these are the lowest in GI index. Plus 1/4 cup of dry oats have 5 gram protein. Okay, so this is one of the things that, but this it takes 20 to 30 minutes to cook. So, you can cook it every day or cook a whole batch. For me, I cook 1 cup and it lasts me 4 days. So that's what I do. So I don't have to cook it every day. The second one, and my much preferred, are the rolled oats. And I have the gluten-free ones. So gluten-free rolled oats, and these are available at Trader Joe's. You can get it on any supermarket, but I prefer the gluten-free version. So these are the easiest one to cook. These are easy. It takes 5 to 7 minutes to cook. And, they have a nice texture to it, but they are not as hardy as the steel cut oats. And these are very versatile too. I use them in burgers for binding instead of breadcrumbs. And in any recipe that you're using breadcrumbs, you can replace the breadcrumbs with rolled oats. I use them in so many different ways in baking, but generally speaking, this is my to-go meal for my everyday to-go meal. And it's really easy to make, which I'll show you in a minute. And the last one are the quick oats, the quick cutting, those little packages. And, personally, I don't prefer them. They are the easiest to cook, but nutrition-wise, a lot of nutrition is stripped from them. So, on the health level, the best ones are the first two, the steel cut and rolled oats. Okay, so having said that, let me show you an easy breakfast that I make, kind of like, my everyday to-go breakfast. I'm going to get my ingredients together. I have everything here. I'm just going to use a mason jar. Usually I make it in a bowl, so it's easier for you to see. Okay, so in this mason jar, what I'm doing is I just add 1/2 cup of this rolled oats. Or here we go. And this is something that you can make. This is something I make it the night before. here. Because usually, you know, in the morning, it's just easy to have something in the fridge. And if you don't make it the night before, you can just cook it in the morning. It takes 5 to 7 minutes. And I make usually 3 or 4, you know, bowls, so that I have it one for each day. So it lasts for five days or so. It doesn't really, you know, it doesn't really spoil. So this is my oats. And to this, I add a tablespoon of chia seeds, okay? Again, chia seeds are very high in fiber. They have a very, like, you know, the satiety factor, what you call it, it's very high. It has heart healthy, brain healthy, omega-6 and omega-3 fatty acids. The other thing, as for sweeteners, I add raisins. And again, this is all measured. This is 1 tablespoon of raisin, which is, I know exactly, it's 10 to 12 raisins, not more than that. You just want to make sure that, you know, dried fruit, don't go overboard on any dried fruit, because again, dried fruit is sugars, right? And it adds up to the total calories. I add, this is 1 tablespoon of shredded coconut. It goes in here, okay? Now, the other thing I love, and I add this, is just 1 mejdul date, 1 date. You really don't need any more than that. You already have raisins in there. If you don't like to add raisins, you know, you don't have to, and just chop it into, like, you know, cut it into like little pieces with a knife or by hand, because it's a mejdul date. It's very nice and soft. So here it goes in the jar. And then I'm going to use my spice, my flavor. And here I use cinnamon, because cinnamon has a lot of antioxidant properties and it is anti-inflammatory. And, you know, there is some anecdotal evidence that it sort of like helps with blood sugar spike. It reduces blood sugar spike. But again, the evidence is very anecdotal. I add it because it gives an amazing flavor. Plus, cinnamon helps you where there is absence of sweetness. Cinnamon gives you kind of, it's a sweet spice. It's sweet and warming spice. So if you add cinnamon, it gives you a little bit more of, like, you know, sugar kind of flavor. And you can also add, I love cardamom, so I tend to add cardamom in everything. And, you know, coming from my, you know, in India, all the sweets have a little cardamom in them. So I associate cardamom with sweet taste. So just a pinch of cardamom, which helps me with my sweet, you know, it helps me bring that sweetness, and it makes me feel like I'm eating a mithai. So these are the things. Very few things went in there. And then there we go. And almond milk. Again, sorry. And about 3/4 cup of almond milk. Now to this, you can add flax meal to get extra, you know, extra protein and extra healthy ingredients like fiber. And again, flax meal has lignans or omega-3s. So you can always add flax meal to it for extra nutrition. You can also add, what I like, one of the versatile ingredient I use, and I always have cooked quinoa in my fridge. I can add some quinoa to it, or I can add also a tablespoon of raw quinoa. You know, raw quinoa is also fine to use here. So you can add a tablespoon of raw quinoa, and that's it. This is ready. This just goes in the fridge like this, and this is what it looks like in the morning. And this is what your breakfast is ready. It takes about 2 to 3 hours to soak, so I always put it overnight, and so in the morning I have a jar of healthy oats ready. And think about it. And if you look at the calories, like I also have the nutrition profile of this meal. So it's about 360 calories, and see, 0 cholesterol, saturated fat 5%. You know, look at there's 10% protein. 10 grams of protein in it. So think about it, like, you know, and how much, 54% fiber. Look at the amount of fiber in this. So all in all, this is like, and this is just one thing, one way to make it. There are so many different ways to make this the same thing. You can add berries to it. You can make a nice berry and chia jam, which is very easy. Just mix on the stove, just mix berries and chia with a little bit of lemon, and maybe you want to add a teaspoon of maple syrup so that everything sticks together. Um, you can make a nice berry and chia jam, and do the same thing. Layer it, add the jam to this, so it will be a berry oat. You can add peanut butter, you can add almond butter. Just be careful when you're using nut butters, though. I always say that, because again, I'll keep on repeating myself, it is a high calorie, it is nuts have high calories, so you just have to keep yourself in check when you're using nuts. And I eat nuts throughout the day, so I don't add it in this, because I don't want to overdo with nuts. I also enjoy my almond butter and peanut butter on piece of bread, so I skip the nuts here. But this is a very, very easy to make breakfast. And like I said, it's just not, it has some ingredients that you need in stock, but these are ingredients. When I show you my next dish, I'll show you I use all these ingredients in so many different dishes. So this is like a part of my it's my part of my vegan pantry. Chia seeds, flax meal, oats. I have learned over the time to replace every, think about oats is my replacement for any breadcrumbs or any refined flour. Even if some places where you have to use refined flour, I try to ground oats and make oat flour. All those things, those small things that you have, and these things last long. It is not, so for example, a bag of chia seeds, it lasts a long, it will last you a couple of months. It's not going to be gone in a while. So once you stock up your vegan pantry, you will be able to experiment and use those ingredients so many different places. So my second, I wanted to show you something else. This is my, sorry guys, here. This is my replacement or my vegan omelet batter. So this is made with literally 4 to 5 ingredients. So what I do is moong dal, if you're familiar with the yellow moong dal, I soak the moong dal for a couple of hours. And then after I soak it, I just drain it out. And I have all the recipes here. I can post the recipes also on World Vegan website, and you guys can always have access to these. But it's a simple thing. So a cup of moong dal, you just soak it for 2 hours. Then you drain out the water. And then in a high-speed blender, in Vitamix or any blender that you're using, you put that moong dal and just a half a cup of water, and add turmeric, salt. And I tend to add the black salt or kala namak because it gives you a little bit of the eggy flavor. The black salt has a kind of like a very sulfuric smell to it. So it gives you an eggy flavor. So I add that. A little bit of garlic powder and onion powder. Again, it gives you a little eggy, taste to it. So all that goes in the Vitamix. And this is what my omelet batter this is my batter for the week. Okay. So, with this, I add spinach to it sometimes. I add kale to it when I'm making the omelets. And simple on the pan, just put like half a teaspoon of oil, and then it makes really nice, and it's very filling. If you can see the nutrition on that, sorry. If you can see the nutrition on that, it's if you take about half a cup, there's half a cup from the measurement. When you make the batter, you take about half a cup and make the moong omelets from that. It's equivalent, it equals to 220 calories. And look at the protein, it's 19 grams of protein. So, and it is 0% cholesterol. Fat comes here only when you add, olive oil or whatever oil you're using. That will be your fat in here. But besides then, you can put, if you like it spicy, you can add some, red powdered, cayenne pepper, or you can add the little mirchi or the Thai bird's chili. You can add jalapenos to it. And there are so many plenty ways you can play around with it. So this is, again, I call my blank slate recipe, or this is something that you can make it, put it in the fridge, use it for 5 days, and it's easy. It takes a little work in the beginning, but then you have all your macros, your good carbohydrates, your proteins, and everything in place. So it is about putting in a little bit work in the meal prep and understanding your ingredients, and the rest, I think you can just breeze through this. And then my favorite next one is the burger. And this is where we're going to see some live action. I get very excited about the burger. Again, this is one of my to-go food. And this is something in my commercial kitchen we produce, at a mass scale. But this is the recipe, the mass scale recipe we have scaled down here for you guys, so you can create it in your kitchen. And again, this is, as I said, one of my to-go recipes, and I love making it and over again. And once you make this base recipe, you can have all your add-ins. You can add so many different things to it. You can take out things that you don't like. So it only requires a few basic ingredients. So we start with our mighty chickpea, our protein and our complex carb, and then mix our chickpeas. So here you can use canned version, or you can soak the chickpeas overnight and do the regular way, cook them. The only one benefit with canned chickpeas is you will get a consistent every time you use it, you will get consistent results. With soaked chickpeas, sometimes you soak them more, soak them less, pressure cook them more or less. It kind of varies. So the first thing what we're going to do here is, as I said, we're going to use a lot of different ingredients that I have already used in the oats will be using here. So first, our main or the chief ingredient here will be chickpeas and quinoa. Then our binding ingredient here will be, we're going to make a flax egg. So we don't need breadcrumbs. We are going to replace our breadcrumbs by our oats, rolled oats. And for binding everything, we'll see how the magic of flax egg that we make will bring everything together. Okay, so the first thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a flax meal egg. So flax meal, okay, so this is a pound of flax meal, part of my vegan pantry, and it's my to-go ingredient. And this pound of flax meal, it lasts long, and I use it in so many different ways, not from burgers to making koftas to making meatballs, vegan meatballs, to baking. Like we make a lot of oatmeal and oatmeal cookies. So this is a very versatile ingredient. As I said before, it is very high in fiber. It has protein and also very good source of omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids, which are very heart healthy and brain healthy. So a simple thing. So to make my flax egg, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use 1 tablespoon of flax meal. Simple. So it's going to be 1 tablespoon of flax meal and 2.5 tablespoons or 3 tablespoons of water. So here it is. So you just put it on the side, and in the meantime, you prepare everything else, and the flax egg will be ready. So the number one thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to saute some onions and garlic. So I have onions and garlic ready. I'm going to put oil on the pan. And as I said, always use a measuring spoon when you're using oil. So 1 teaspoon of oil. Here goes the onions. It's about 1/2 cup of diced onions. Okay. And I have about a tablespoon of garlic, minced garlic. It goes on the pan. And in the meantime, while this is cooking, what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly prepare our oat base, okay, which will be equivalent to our breadcrumbs. So I have my food processor here, and this is one of the most amazing device I have felt in my kitchen. And this is a very, very versatile, equipment, something that makes my cooking so easy. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pulse this. This is what I made, just coarse oats, okay? And the magic of this food processor brings these burgers together in no time. So the first thing is the oats. You go the oats. Now the next thing in the food processor, this is measured out 1.5 cup of chickpeas. Okay, so there goes the chickpeas. So 1 cup of quinoa. So again, our sources of protein, then our sources of fiber, complex carbohydrates, quinoa being the complete protein here. And along with this, I'm going to put some fresh herbs. I have some cilantro here, which can go here. I have some parsley. And then something I'm going to add, my good fats. I always save my good fats for different recipes. So I'm going to use a 1/4 cup of walnuts. And I love using nuts or seeds in burgers because they give them, as I said, whenever I'm creating something, I think about the texture of a dish. And nuts and seeds give such a unique texture to any dish. So and also not just texture, right? It's a lot of nutrition. So now these are my good fats. The flax meal is my good fat. The nuts in here, it's going to be my good fat. And that's why another thing, I use less oil also in cooking, or tend to use the spoons in cooking, is because I want to save all my good fats for when I'm eating nuts and seeds and all the other good ingredients. So they go in the food processor. Now, if you like a little spice, throw in like half a jalapeno. My kids love these burgers, so I don't go too spicy on them, but I can throw in a half a jalapeno. In goes that. And then here it is. All you do is pulse it a couple of times. So that's all it takes. This is the loose, it's like a loose meal right now. So what I'm going to do is, while I'm doing this, I'm going to add our flavorings to the oats here, okay? So for the flavoring, the 3 things I use, and my to-go ingredients: smoked paprika, chili powder, of course, our red chili powder, smoked paprika, and cumin powder. So these, I love these 3 spices, and I use it so very often in most of the dishes I make. The smoked paprika, it is not spicy, but it gives the smokiness. It brings out the smokiness. And I use it in a lot of Indian dishes too, especially when I'm making curries, eggplant curry or something, or bangan bharta. It really gives you the nice smoky flavor. When you're making something with mushroom, smoked paprika really elevates it, brings it to a different level. The same thing. This is about half a teaspoon of cumin. I'm going to add a teaspoon of cumin and a teaspoon of smoked paprika and half a teaspoon of cayenne powder or chili powder. There we go. I just added to the oats. I just added it to the oats, and about half a teaspoon of salt. Okay. And in the meantime, the onions are ready. The onions and garlic, that's sauteed. One last thing I'm going to add to our onions and garlic, apple cider vinegar. Now, apple cider vinegar, it is, you know, it's considered, it has a lot of health benefits. It's also like, you know, a lot of diets recommend apple cider vinegar. But for me, the main purpose here I use is for the tartness. Like any dish that you're creating, apple cider vinegar gives a nice acidity to it. And I love that kind of like, you know, tartness. When you eat any burgers, any of the veggie burgers outside, they have some kind of like little, you know, tart flavor to it. And that's what it does. So I'm adding 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. Okay. And apple cider vinegar, as we know, it has been associated with weight loss, with, you know, so many different things. But again, it's all anecdotal evidence. Here we are using it for flavor. And if it gives any health benefits, we are going to take that too, together with flavor. So it is simple. So my mixture is ready. I'm going to add this to the oats. Something else I like to add in this is chipotle chilies. Sorry. So sometimes I like to add chipotle chilies, which are like smoked jalapenos. You know, basically they are like this. They usually come in can, and they are these dried red jalapenos. Then they also bring a lot of smokiness to it. So here's what we have: our chickpea, quinoa mix, jalapeno, our herbs, which is cilantro, parsley mix. I added a little bit of jalapeno to it, and that's it. Right now, what you're looking at is very loose meal, I would say. It's very loose right now. It's not, it will be hard to bind this together, but in a minute, I can show you how when we add our magic ingredient, our vegan egg or egg replacer flex meal, this whole thing will come together. So right now, if I show you, this is like, you know, very loose, right? I'm going to try it a little bit for flavor if there is anything that needs to be added. I think a little bit of salt. And then if you like a little tartness, you can add a little bit of lemon juice to it. This should be enough. You can add a little lemon juice to it, or, you know, you can also add, if you like, you can also add a little bit of barbecue sauce to it. It tastes, barbecue sauce gives you a nice smoky flavor too. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add our vegan egg replacer, which is the flax meal, and see how the whole, you know, how the loose meal comes together with the egg replacer. I'm going to show you. This is your mighty burger. Right? And I can, with this, I can easily make about, if I'm making the big burgers, I can make about 4. And if I make smaller ones, I can make about 6 burgers. And these are so filling. They have a lot of fiber. They have your good carbohydrates, your complex carbohydrates. They have protein in them coming from quinoa, chickpeas, you know, flax meal that we added to it. All those ingredients combined together, the oats. So all these ingredients in this burger, they combine together to form a very hearty meal. So I can guarantee you, you eat 2 of these and you are good to go. So just let it cook. You can add oil if you like, but I think it's good. It's good as it is. And you know, all the ingredients that are in there are cooked. So, you know, it just needs to be seared a little bit, a pan seared a little bit, because everything is pretty much cooked in here. And this is our delicious burger. Can be a nice weeknight meal. Can be make it on Sunday. 5 to 6, you know, about 6 to 8 burgers, and you can have them for lunch. And typically what I do here, let's cook it. Cooks pretty fast. So typically what I do is I skip the bread altogether and just on a plate of greens, put a little bit of olive oil on the greens and eat 2 of these. They are really filling. You eat 2 of this. And if you like it with a bread, go ahead with a bread. Have your favorite dressing with it. I'm going to share the nutrition content of this. So 1 burger has about 11 grams of protein. It has 9 grams of dietary fiber. You know, depending on how much oil you put, you know, to make it, we only used 1 teaspoon of olive oil. You can add more when you're searing it, or you can skip it altogether. Look at the nutrition facts. Now, if you eat 2 of them, it's a big meal. It's like 500 calories, 22 grams of protein, right? And you can add greens to it. And it is a fantastic, you know, weeknight meal, weekday lunch, whatever you'd like to call it. So this is just to give you an idea that vegan or plant-based meals are, you know, are not as complicated or are not as time-consuming as we think they are, or we have that notion that it can be very daunting. These are some easy things that I make, and you know, with vegetarian cooking, if you're used to it, other things are very relatively easy to make. Like you can replace the ghee that you're used to using by coconut oil, but you have to make sure coconut oil is also saturated fat. So you have to, you know, sort of control that usage too. But ghee can be replaced. There are so many different yogurts available in the market, the soy yogurt, coconut yogurt. I make my own cashew yogurt, and it's not that difficult to make either. It just requires cashews and probiotic pills. You can make that on your own. So the cheeses, there are so many variety in the market, vegan cheeses, but something I prefer, my reason for, you know, taking this vegan journey was to eat only clean or whole food plant-based ingredients. So I try not to, you know, go to the processed vegan food aisle. So it is adjusting your taste buds a bit too. And as I said before, our mouth has 10,000 taste receptors, and those receptors keep renewing. All our taste buds keep renewing and changing, and they adapt. They adapt to whatever foods that you choose. And you know, you just have to try it out, and it's a win-win situation, right? So I think my burger is ready here, and you can see here it is. You eat with your favorite dressing. Don't go too overboard on dressing. Use a little bit of chutney, cilantro chutney or something, and there it is ready. So I hope this little presentation helped you a bit in understanding or gave you an idea about different ingredients that you can use and how vegan replacers work. These are just a few things that, you know, I just had figured that would be easier to show at this time. But there are so many things, once you start experimenting, there are so many things that you can do. And with your regular diet, you can easily replace so many things. So for example, if you're used to using cream while making curries, you can make cashew cream, which I make it all the time. Basically it's just half a cup of cashews. They're soaked for for 4 to 5 hours, or half a cup of cashews in boiling water, and then just drain them, rinse them, and in a high speed processor, process it with 1/4 cup of water, and you'll get a nice creamy paste. So you can use that in your curries. A disclaimer once again: there are cashews, there are nuts, so be a little gentle while using all these nut-based ingredients. Having said so, maybe we can open it for questions if anybody has any questions.
This is Avinash. That was a great presentation. And I just wanted to add one thing, that I just heard a video yesterday from a Dr. Fund, and he mentioned it in a very succinct way that going vegan is good for you and it will guarantee you an entry in the heaven. But it will not delay that process if you are not careful. So you have to be careful with the food you eat.
Right.
Even though it is vegan, you can make it unhealthy as unhealthy as you want.
Absolutely.
So remember that. So remember that.
Yes, Avinash, right. That is very true. And that's why I keep stressing that.
I was reinforcing what you were saying.
No, it is true. The nuts, the oils, plus the whole plant-based industry has opened up so many products. Like it has opened up doors to creating so many products, and that is like those are processed products. Those are not whole food plant-based. So you have to make sure that when you go vegan, you have to have that sort of mindset to be able to take control of your own kitchen. And not even vegan, I think for any healthy lifestyle, taking control of your own kitchen, your diet is the key. That is nobody else can do for you. If you're going to think of doing vegan or any diet by buying readily available food from supermarkets, trust me, that is not the way to do it. You really need to, as they say in health and fitness, I am myself very much into health and fitness, and they say your abs are built in your kitchen. Exercise can help you and you must follow that, but most important thing, your abs, if you want to build your abs, take control of your kitchen. So having said that, I hope this presentation helped you, give you a little glimpse into how it is not that difficult to adopt this life, but once you adopt it, it gives back to you. It gives back to the environment. It gives back to the globe. So you are making if you choose to go this way, you are making a great change, not only for yourself, but for the benefit of the world, for the benefit of animals and everybody else around you. And this will also help your family a great deal. Teach your young children how to adopt a healthy lifestyle. They learn very much from the beginning. I come from a family where there is inheritance of diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and everything. And that's what was something that prompted me. I lost my father very early on in my life because of, all these conditions that I mentioned. And that's something that was a very, to me, that was something that could have been controlled. And I feel if I don't control that, it's not going to come from anywhere. So I hope, Dr. Shah's presentation and my presentation of today's presentation helped you to learn more about vegan lifestyle.
Hi, Kalindi.
Thank you very much.
Hi, Kalindi. Can I have a question, please?
Sure.
So sorry, I joined late, so I'm not sure if I missed this information, but I wanted to know where can we get probiotic and prebiotic when we go vegan? So which are the, if you can recommend some food items which are probiotic?
So the food items probiotic generally are the yogurts, right? I mean, mostly generally yogurts or cheeses. So you can, I normally take a probiotic supplement every night. That helps me. I don't know, I make cashew yogurt. I eat soy yogurt, but I usually like cashew yogurt. But again, I have to be very careful because cashew yogurt is, again, it's made with nuts. So generally I take the probiotics.
Okay.
But probiotic importance is also very hyped up.
Right.
And probiotics are not as essential as we are led to believe by the yogurt sellers. And if you listen to Dr. Joel Fuhrman, who is a very advanced researcher in nutrition today, he says that beans are the superfoods,
Right.
and beans provide you a lot of probiotics too, because
great.
beans support probiotic bacteria in your guts, and so beans are a very good replacement for many of those supposedly beneficial things.
Oh, good to know. That was something new. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you,
if you go
Kalindi.
to if you go to drfuhrman.com, or just search for Joel Fuhrman in YouTube, and you'll find many of his videos.
Can you please type it in the chat?
Yeah, I will do so.
Thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to ask Kalindi
Yes.
that she's doing this professionally, and I know that during these times it is a little difficult. But in what way can your business or can your enterprise help people who are going vegan, people who don't have time to cook, or people who want to cater a large event or something like that? How can your business help in that?
Sure, we are here.
No, I mean,
We will, if you don't have
tell us.
time to cook these delicious burgers, we will deliver it to your doorstep.
That's it.
So tell us a little about your website and what kind of stuff can you arrange?
Or what kind of food is available? I'm menus.
So we started, as I said, I started my company as a vegan plant-based meal delivery company. But over the years, we morphed, meaning we changed. And, we for the past few years, what we have been doing is we produce ready to eat, freshly prepared, no processed food, like, all the vegan meals. And we sort of wholesale it to retailers. And that was the path we had for a few years. And now we are restarting the meal delivery part. So, because of COVID, now I have a lot of restrictions where I can deliver, but otherwise we are opening up the whole thing again of the, weekly plant-based meals, healthy meals that are packaged and ready for you to eat. And they should be consumed within 5 days. So that's what we do. And hopefully once things open up, we can open our delivery to many more areas.
Kalindi,
When do you expect it to open up?
Sorry?
When do you expect it to get to full capacity? Or
it is very hard for me to say right now because of the changing dynamics of this whole situation, how it's unfolding each day. But hopefully in the new year 2021 February, I feel we will be ready.
Oh, great. So in a couple of months.
Yes, in a couple of months we'll definitely be ready.
That sounds good.
Open our doors.
Kalindi, you
Yes.
need to mention about your past Firki background self, because you've been doing it for 5 years and it was very flourishing.
Yes. So when I started my business in the plant-based industry, and while it was growing in 2015, my husband, my partner, he decided to, he got very much into it. And he comes from a finance and technology background, and he was working for a hedge fund back in the time. So he got very much into it, and he said, if we can pull our efforts together and start something else, let's do it. So that time, his brainchild, Firki, I would like to, as I call it, his brainchild, his idea was to deliver healthy and nutritious Indian meals, our day-to-day, our traditional food, right? We are used to deliver to the doorstep, and that also made very healthy. So that's what we started in 2017, end of 2016, and beginning of 2017. And it really took off very well. And we were actually delivering to 40 different towns in New Jersey and the entire New York City. Yes. And from there, that's sort of became our main thing then at that time, because the venture just itself grew. And because, the Indian community loved the food and loved the taste of what we had to give them. We delivered the taste of traditional Indian food, and we cut the grease what you get in restaurants or what tiffin walas and all the other places give you. We cut all the grease, but we packed all the flavors. My background being in very coming from a different background, coming from a scientific background, we developed a protocol where we could pack the flavors but cut out the grease, and that sort of became big. And we, in the meantime, we got actually our footsteps in with Fresh Direct. We collaborated with Fresh Direct, the company, the well-known grocer in city, and we started wholesaling to them. So Firki grew like a brand in itself with Fresh Direct, and we sort of, then we cut down, because of a lot of logistics and delivery issues, we cut down a lot of on the doorstep meals, but we grew as a retail in the retail chain. And while Firki was growing, I started my own brainchild, which is Plantology, now today known as PlantologyFuel. And Plantology did similar things. We delivered to the doorstep, and we delivered, and our meals were wholesale, like freshly packaged meals. And Plantology's meals are focused on vegan or pure plant-based eating, and plant-based eating, not only just plant-based, but also brain healthy ingredients, because my background is in neuroscience, and I always wanted to bring that into a meal. So PlantologyFuel is my way to bridging the gap between science, especially neuroscience, and actual plant-based food.
Good job. Good job.
Dr. Bakshi, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Hi, I'm Madhav Sehgal from St. Louis. Thank you for a wonderful presentation. I'm so sorry I joined a little bit late, but no I watched your presentation on burger making. I was very impressed because our son tried to make a burger just last week, a vegan burger that was based on black bean burger, but this one is very exciting. But my question to you is regarding buying the food items, the fresh produce and so on. Do you have any preference for some of these so-called upscale stores like Whole Foods and Trader Joe's versus run-of-the-mill grocery stores? Number one. Number two, do you also have a preference for buying organic food items? Do you look for organically grown, or does it really not matter? Is it not worth the extra cost of buying organic food versus the regular food items in the stores, whether it's nuts or whether it's cucumbers or what have you? I'll wait for an answer.
Okay. So personally, like if you ask me, I don't think, whether you buy your produce from Whole Foods or you buy your produce from a local grocery store, it really doesn't matter. What I buy my produce mostly from farmers market. Farmers market, because, we have a farmers market which has a very high turnover. Produce doesn't sit there. So what I try to do is, this is a place where produce doesn't sit. So usually it's very fresh. It's, the turnover is very high. In some of these stores, the turnover of produce is not that high. So, I choose my preference, and always it's my preference is support a local small business. So number one, because the turnover is high, I buy fruits and produce from them. And organic versus non-organic, it's always a debate. I don't particularly go just for organic. Yes, when I'm choosing my greens, I like to go organic. When I'm choosing my berries, I like to go organic. But others, I find, another issue with organic produce is the shelf life. Organic produce does not have enough shelf life in your refrigerator. It goes bad very fast. So if you choose to buy organic, make sure you're going to use it fast, right? Personally, I choose my greens organic. I choose my berries organic. Otherwise, other produce I feel others is fine.
Thank you so much.
This is Avinash, and I just wanted to add that we had a doctor from India, Nandini. Her name was Nandini. I forget her last name, but she is very much into organic foods. And she made a very good point that our body chemistry is based on very small amounts of enzymes and very small amount of nutrients. So when small amounts of pesticides are present, it is not yet well researched even that what kind of effects it will have on our body chemistry. So, and she is a staunch proponent of organic food. And I also believe that why pay more and all that. But I think if I had a choice and if I could afford it, I would go for organic food.
But again, Avinash bhai, my experience from just being in the food industry is this word organic is very iffy. Organically produced is a very iffy term. Like it's wishy-washy.
You have to find an
very honest
honest organic farmer too.
Right. You need to find, so that's why I find locally produced.
Or grow your own.
I highly recommend seasonal and locally produced. And believe it or not, there are so many products that are produced around the farms where you live. So going local and seasonal is more of, I find that's more important than thinking organic.
And just for taste, for example, if you have these tomatoes on the vine grown in the Netherlands today,
right.
I mean, they don't taste like they don't taste of anything. It is just red colored stuff. It doesn't taste of tomato, but if you have a tomato grown in your own garden, it will taste much better, and probably it will be organic too. If you don't.
Plus, another issue is the carbon footprint. The food, for example, asparagus. Asparagus comes from New Zealand or far. It travels so much. So the carbon footprint that is related to your own, to the produce that you buy, you also have to take that into consideration. So seasonal, local is the best way to go. And organic when possible, I would say.
Yeah. And when you are sure that it is organic.
Right. Okay, any more questions?
In these COVID times, it's very hard to go to a farmer's market and interact with people. So home delivery is the best way to go, and farmers don't do that right now. So perhaps maybe post-COVID times, we should start buying.
Also, there are CSAs, local CSAs you can join, right? Where they have the farm share, they give you, a share in the local produce, and then someone comes and delivers to you every week. There are so many around here. You may be able to find something here, the local CSAs.
I think we'll have to look into that.
Yeah.
Yes, CSA means community supported agriculture. And you get a box every week or so. You have to go and pick up someplace or somebody. It's all different at different places. And you also never know. It's like a gift box. You never know what is going to be in there.
But that's something good,
it is good. It is a lot of variety too. And you get very exotic stuff too.
And you can explore your creativity that way.
And they're usually seasonal veggies or growth. So that's good.
Right. Absolutely.
Also, supporting your local farmers market is a good thing.
I agree.
Totally agree. Yep. Okay. Any more questions, guys?
No, thank you so much. You did amazing. Thank you for the details and the information, Kalindi.
Thank you very much, everyone, for joining. And once again, I hope between the two talks and just seeing today how it is not daunting, or it's not, you don't have to go to extraordinary measures to create healthy vegan meals and, try this new lifestyle. Hopefully we have convinced you and you will at least give it a try. And
Thank you, Kalindi.
Hopefully 2021, you make a resolution to start vegan January. Thank you, everyone.
Actually, in 2021, we are going to start with a program for weight loss, because a lot of people will have made the resolution on New Year Eve to lose weight. So we are going to do a program on that in January. This will be the last program in December. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Be safe, and have a good night.
Thank you, Kalu.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.